All right. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully, there's a few folks in here. It looks like there is from the comments. Thanks for popping in on a Tuesday. There we go. Oh, look at that. All right. Now we're fixed up. Oh, now we're fixed up. How's everybody doing? I didn't write any notes today or anything. I was a little tired after running around doing a whole bunch of errands, and I took a nap. I woke up and I realized I had a live stream for like 10 minutes. So, welcome everybody. Welcome to all my minions and friends. I'm sure this will fill up a little more as time goes on. This daylight savings times change has really messed us up a little bit. So, anyway, got an interesting show tonight. There's supposed to be a 5-on-5 guest, 5-on-5 guest tonight. We've got some nice stuff. We'll have a story time at the end, a couple of reminders, and we'll just see how things go. We're going to just make this one a little bit more loose than normal. So let's start with some greetings. First of all, hello to everyone out there who is watching live in the stream right now. Also, hello to everyone who watches replays. I know Mike Reese already said it's a replay kind of week. Got my daughter's first play recital. Have a great live. So thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. And that's what I mean. There's a lot of people who watch after the fact. So thank you if you are watching after the fact, if you are just lurking, if you are on a mobile device, obviously, if you're in here live. Thanks for coming in, spending part of your Tuesday with moi. All right. Let's see. Let's start with some minion greetings here. See who we got. Obviously, we had Mike Reese, who's not sticking around. That's okay. Bang bang. Also, I will not be in tonight. Gender reveal for the wife and I on our third child. Have a great live. Well, congratulations to you, my friend. I hope the gender reveal is what you're hoping for. You love all your kids, but sometimes if you got two girls and you're looking for a boy, you want a boy, or two boys and you're looking for a girl, you want a girl. So hopefully you get what you want. But either way, you'll be blessed to have another child. David Iverson says, Eionan's Edge, Mrs. Edge, Mike Reese, bang bang. Hello, everyone. Welcome in, brother. Mimo, Michael Morgan, one of my moderator extraordinaires, says hashtag be up. And that is correct, sir. That is Jason Brown's hashtag. Minions assemble. That's right. Meet us here in the Minions Lair. Let's see what else we got. How's the back? The back is so I heard it real bad a couple weeks ago. Laid me up for about 4 days. I was able to go to work on that third day, but I basically came home and did nothing. And then it got better, and then I tweaked it again this past week, and I spent another couple of days recuperating. So I won't say I'm back to 100%, but I am feeling better, very much so, and good enough that I can think I can sit here for an hour and a half and do this live stream. So hopefully that is what will happen. Hopefully it will go pretty well, and you guys will have a decent time with me here today, and I won't be sitting here in too much pain. Bearded Doom is in the house. BOD, I did send your stuff off. I hope you saw that Instagram message. Eionan's Edge is here. He says, well, I mean, sorry. He says, what's up, Eon? Hi. All right. Hello to you, sir. Urban Woodsman's looking forward to story time. There will be a story time tonight. You're in early, so you didn't miss it. Don't worry. We got some other greetings going on. BOD says here for a bit until my kiddo gets out of her piano lesson, then driving time. All right, brother, hit that like button, listen up while you can, and we appreciate you popping in for the evening. Let's see what else we got going on here. We got freak shows in the house tonight. He says howdy, howdy. Ed Harrison says shopping and listening. Thank you, sir, very much. Prayers for Mrs. Edge. Always much appreciated. I love that. Bang bang much here. Make much bang. He's here 10 by 10. There you go. Loud as could be. Ed Harrison says be up. Spencer Ewalds. joined the live tonight. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Don Ray B. Don, another one of my minions. Welcome in. Hopefully things on the homestead are going fine. Saw your video on the knife. Loved it. Thanks for the tag. You did a great job. Did a great job. Right. You mentioned jimping on the spine. You talked about the handle materials, how it fit your hand well, how it had good ergonomics. You bought a knife with 14C28N instead of D2. Good choice. I think we had mentioned that was preferable for you for its full stainless abilities, a decent edge holding, and easiness of sharpening. So good for you. I'm glad that worked out. Loved watching the video. Checked out a couple of your other videos. Mrs. Edge thought it was fantastic. She actually watched the one with the chicken, as did I. Had fun doing that. So good job on the knife video. Kudos to you. Hope you missed it. Yes, I'm doing better. Mrs. Edge is doing better, although tomorrow is treatment number 2 for the second half of chemo. And we know there's going to be 4 or 5 days of roughness after that. So hopefully she will make it through that at least as good as she did last time, I'm hoping, which was still pretty rough. But yes, all of your thoughts and prayers are very much appreciated. Byron Kennedy says, hello, Eionan's Edge, Mrs. Edge, Michael Morgan, all the minions this Tuesday, EDH, Dawn, Urban, Native, Doom, Freak Show, and everybody else who tunes in now and afterwards. I very much appreciate it. Hey, you know what? Here's the deal with the knife review. It works simply because you stated out all the reasons that you bought that kind of knife. So when you're reviewing a knife that you're using personally, and you can give all the reasons why you chose that knife and why it suits your purposes, it fits your budget, it's got the right blade steel, it's got a good handle material, it's ergonomic for you, it's the right size for your hands and the purposes that you're going to be using it for. It's a good review. All right. It's a good review, Dawn. Did a good job. I liked it. Mrs. Edge liked it. Her opinion is just as important, actually. All right. Anyway, Urban Woodsman says, anyone seen Satisfaction's video on the Factor? He was totally wowed by it. I have not seen it yet, but I do. Normally, I watch all Matt's videos right away. But because of everything that's going on in my life, I don't get to watch as many of everybody's videos as I would like. But nevertheless, when I do watch Matt's videos, I watch them from cover to cover, start to finish. So I will have to catch that one and check it out. I'm sure it's good. Let's see what else we got going on here. We got David Iverson's throwing out some greetings as well. A couple things I want to mention real quick. There are not a ton of people who have sent in their words of the week. Less than 20. If you have words of the week, if you have at least 5, send them to me at eionansedge@gmail.com along with your YouTube username. The biggest, most elaborate prize pack. Let me put that differently. The biggest present that I will be giving away on my holiday live will be the word of the week drawing. And the non-word of the week one will be nice. It'll be good. It'll have a lot of stuff in it. There are 12 of them, by the way. 12 presents. But the word of the week one is going to be the master class. So if you have word of the week words, get them into me. They have to be in by November 30th. I'm going to be cutting them up, printing them out based on how many entries you are eligible for. And I will have Mrs. Edge is going to draw them on, let me look here. Hold on. I want to give you guys the right date. I don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss it. Let's see. She will be drawing them on, let me go to December here. Tuesday, December 20th will be the date for that. She will be drawing them, the winners of the wow herself, out of an actual little bucket or bowl, and they will actually be paper entries that I'm going to print and cut up. So seeing as how there's not a lot of you guys, you got a pretty good chance of winning. Okay. So don't miss out on that chance. Send your entries in to me by November 30th. Also, I do have a 5 and 5 guest tonight. They will be coming on the show in a little while. So contact me at Eionan's Edge live at Eionan's Edge at Gmail or at Instagram, Eionan's_edge, if you would like to take part in a 5 and 5 knife show and tell on an upcoming episode. Any 5 knives, doesn't matter. You can bring more than 5 knives. I give you at least 5 minutes to show and tell your knives. And you can bring more than 5 knives if you want. I'll give you more than 5 minutes. But anyway, hit me up if you would like to do that. I want to remind you guys, I do have a merchandise store over at Teespring, and you can. Why does this not want to show up? Oh, there it is. I have a merchandise store, shirts, hoodies, and swag to help cover the cost of shipping things for the channel. I don't make any real money on it. In fact, I haven't collected the first little bounty of revenue that's in there because it's not quite big enough to be worth it. But if you'd like to help me out with shipping all the items I'm going to be sending over the holidays, feel free to stop over there and buy a coffee mug, a t-shirt, hoodie, whatever, and they'll be my merchandise. So that's pretty cool. All right. So what else do I have to tell you? I have a special holiday guest. I mean, a 5 and 5 guest coming up. I told you about that. I've got what, about 15 of you guys in here already. So let's go ahead and start throwing up pocket checks. I'm not going to do anything special with pocket checks today. Just tell me what you got in your pocket. What are you carrying? Knife, EDC items, etc. My pocket check's a little more routine today because all I did was run around doing errands this morning and doing shopping for the house and washing laundry and all the other things that I normally have been doing. So I don't really have a big pocket dump to share with you, but I will share what I have in a few minutes. A couple other things I want to talk about too. Uh, I am working on how should I put this? I'm working on, after the first of the year, having a upgrade to the Minions layer, shall we say. Things will look a little different in a good way. I will not be changing my studio location. It's the only place in the house where I can be in here next to my wife and have space to have a desk and cameras and microphones and lights and all this other stuff set up. But there will be some improvements coming in the first couple months of the new year. So keep your eyes out for that. Should be fun. Also, I wanted to mention as well that I will be having a Saturday live on New Year's Eve. That should be the 31st, is a Saturday. I will have a live that day, and I probably will have some kind of surprise for you guys. I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. My family's coming to visit over Christmas, so the week following Christmas. So basically, let's see, Christmas is on a Sunday. That following Tuesday, I will not have a live because my kids and my grandchildren will still be here. But just so you guys know that would be, what is that, 26th, 27th maybe, right? Tuesday the 27th. But that week, right after Christmas, there won't be a Tuesday live. So anyway, just letting you know that real quick. Get the pocket checks up. I'm going to start looking at the comments. There's a heck of a lot of them in here. So let's see what we got going on. We've got a lot of welcomes, a lot of greetings. Mike Reese, you're early listening while driving tomatoes. Yeah, I realized that when I went to go live, I I should have set a different time for myself. I put 3 p.m., which is Pacific time, but I think it should be 4 p.m. my time. It really screws me up that we don't change time and the rest of the country does. So sorry about that, guys. I'll try to get that fixed for next week anyway. Leland Phil jumped in. Welcome, buddy. What's up? He said, "What's up, everyone? Listening at work. That's okay. No worries. I appreciate that. Hit the like button if you have time." Lots of greetings going out. Urban Wisdom said, "It's sad I didn't participate in that Sesame Street word of the week. My loss." Hey, it is, but here's the thing, Urban. Next year, I'm going to do a word of the month. So I'll have at least 12 of them, and I'll squeak in an extra one or two here and there as bonuses, but it'll be a little easier to keep up on. Um, but those are still going to be at the holidays, they're going to be my biggest presents. They're going to be my biggest present pack. So definitely make sure you do that for next year. It's not too late. You could always go back and watch some of my live streams and pick up enough words to enter the contest. I did put them in every live stream. So you can find out what they are, but you'd have to go back and rewatch. Native says, I'm going to eat some pink pineapple. I don't think I've ever had pink pineapple, ever. Eionan says, live from Maddie's sandbox. Yes, that's true. That would be pretty cool, actually. One of these years, I think we're going to have to do like a little impromptu meetup up there in Phoenix, and maybe do that on like New Year's Eve or something. That would be fun. We could have a whole bunch of people come on at one time and do live streams. Yeah, that could be kind of fun. I think that would be cool. So David Iverson's the first person that threw in his pocket check. The rest of you guys throw some up for me. He's carrying a ZTO 308, classic knife from ZT, Baby B from Rough Rider, a Victorinox Alex Pioneer X, a Hinder Ped. Oh, sorry, I've been a little low on energy, especially recuperating from this back injury. And a Mrs. Edge Hank. So David always has a great carry on him. Mike Jernak says, hello, guys. He's another minion, has jumped into the fray here. We're up in the 20s now for viewers. Native Wildman threw his pocket check up. He's got a Kubi Wolverine in red. He's got a CRKT M16 in bronze. That's one of my friend Neil's favorite knives. A Steel Warrior green bone, and a knife I made for the fixed blade. So your own fixed blade. That's cool. I dig that. That's something going into the new year. I decided I'm going to put a little more focus on. I'm going to probably start carrying a fixed blade after the holidays regularly. And then I'm also going to explore a few other fixed blade options because I would like to kind of branch out a little more into those. Michael Morgan says he's got the 0562 tie. I love that. ZT knife, basically a Hinder without the heavy price tag. Rough Rider Reserve lock stock and an Olight i3T titanium. The i3T is awesome. The titanium is even nicer, although a little more pricey, but still a great light. Got some other greetings going on. Don Ray B says pocket check, Sativian SD139. Good knife. Urban says, is that a weed plant behind you? I'd be jealous if it was. It is not a weed plant, but I wouldn't be upset if it was a weed plant either. So no, it is not. It is just one of them bamboo decorative plants, and it takes up that corner, and it also houses my Simply Safe security camera, so it doesn't look like it's just setting on a windowsill anymore. But it works good. But yes, if it were a flowering, smokable plant, that would be fine with me. I'd be okay with that. Let's see. Byron Kennedy says, got a Max Ace Goliath V2, an ABKT Cattleman's Cutlery Stockman. Very nice, sir. Zero Bites is in here too. He says, yo, what's going on? What's up, Zero? Another one of my minions popping in today. Spencer Ewald is carrying the Wii Upshot for Tie Tuesday, the Olight Baton 2, a Sharpie, a Pilot G2 pen, and a pocket screwdriver. Very nice. I like it. I like it a lot. Let's see what else we got going on here. Belt Loop's in here. What's going on, Belt Loop? Thanks for stopping in tonight, man. I appreciate it. I got the same two knives I always carry, an SOG Twitch 2 and a Cutco pocket knife. Beard of Doom, late check. I'm rocking the best tech Fairchild, Shenyu War Shield Fidget, and a Lancelot leather wallet. I don't actually have my wallet. Let me tell you, I did carry the Campfire Leatherworks wallet that I have from Iggy, who was awesome. Sorry, it was just a little bit of back pain. Was awesome about sending me and Mrs. Edge some wallets that we were interested in. She made a couple of custom ones for us, so very nice. Let's see here. EDC Roundtable Force Tanks belt loop, but one is in my boot rather than my pocket. I hope that counts. That's okay. It's all good, man. You're still carrying it. It's an EDC item. Urban says rewatching just for the word sounds like cheating. Yes and no. I mean, plenty of people rewatch, and there's people who don't catch all my lives who caught some of the word of the weeks from rewatches. So that's up to you, brother. You only need 5 to get into the drawing. If you got 5, you get into the drawing. So you don't need a ton. Stacy Bolster Blades. What's up, Stacy? Says Eionan misses Eionan and family. Sorry I'm late trying to be productive, but oh well, that's all right. Don't forget to hit the like button for me, folks, if you dropped in here. Shout out to Brother Bill. That is correct. Be up, Bill. Pro X. We are always thinking of you, brother. Sharp Guy ATX just jumped in here too. He says he's carrying a Case XX bare butt Warney BM 940 M4 assorted pocket jank. Very good, very good. Byron says, Bearded Doom, one of my 3 regret not buy 22 knives, that Fairchild Summit and the Hephaestus, I think it's called. Hephaestus? Something along those lines. I might have butchered that, but I did the best I could. I'm a Marine with limited IQ. I like to eat crayons. Don't pick on me if I pronounced your knife wrong. Bama Ninja, one of my honorary moderators. He is in the house. He says, hey, Eionan, everyone, I'm changing tires, getting the car ready for winter, but I'm listening. Thank you very much, Tim. Love Bama Ninja. One of these days, you're going to have to come back on the live stream when you feel like you got some time and do another 5 and 5 for us. I know you got more knives out there, so we'll have to check that out. Will B is here as well. He says, driving home, listening, Grimsmo Norseman, Kaiser Bag Leader XL, Savivi Chevalier, Spyderco, Ronin 2, Olite Baton 3, an i5 T Plus, and a Karis Bolt V2. Very nice, sir. Very nice. I like it a lot. All kinds of greetings going on. Everybody's saying hello to one another. Hello, 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 back and forth. Hello to everybody who just jumped in. If you're lurking or you're just listening and watching on a cell phone, thank you very much. Don't forget to hit the like button for me. Trying to catch up with some comments here, see where we're at. A lot of people greeting each other. Yes, we're doing pocket checks. Blaze Burger in the house. Another long time minion. And Blaze says, "Are we doing pocket checks? I'm carrying the Black Ace. I love the Max Ace Black Mirror. I love it. The name doesn't really fit the knife, but great freaking knife. Love that knife. Would love to pick one up." Michael Morgan says, "Speaking of crayons, go check out Grumpy Grunt." I'll tell you a story real quick. This is not an actual story time, but just a story. When I came into the community a year ago, next month, I mean, I was in the community before then, but I wasn't a content creator. So I was around. I watched people's videos. I followed their channels. I popped into an occasional live for about a year or so. I would say back going into probably 2021 or late 2020, and obviously the community changed a lot because of COVID. But I decided to do this as a hobby and as something that I loved and I wanted to share with people. But when I came into the community and I started a channel, the first 2 people that were content creators that reached out to me. The first person that reached out to me, by the way, the first person when I created a channel was Jason Brown. The very first person that contacted me was like, "Hey, I saw you got a channel. Welcome to the community. I think I've seen you around a couple times, et cetera, or commenting on videos from people, whatever." And Jason Brown's the first person that reached out to me by email. He emailed me at Eionan's Edge, Gmail, and said, "Hey, welcome, brother." But the next 2 people that were immensely, immensely helpful to me was Mattisfaction and Grumpy Girl. Matt brought me on his live stream. People got to know who I was. I told some stories, sat in on some chats, et cetera, et cetera. And then Grumpy had me on his live stream, and he basically pushed me from whatever it was, 80 subs I was at the time, to over 100. So my first milestone was hit due to Grumpy. And the exposure I got with the community was due to Matt. So when I tell you that guys like Matt and Grumpy are the very best of this community, that is true. So if you're not sub to Grumpy, you should. I don't know why you're not. You should be, definitely. All right. So let's see what else we got. Stacy says she got a first snow on Saturday. Can't wait for more. No, thank you. I'll skip the snow. I lived back in New England and dealt with it for a long time, half of my life. Done with it. Don't want any more. I like to go visit it. I don't want to live in it. Sharpies count as EDC? Really? Add Sharpie to every carry I ever live streamed for the past 3 years. Hey, if you EDC it, it's an EDC item. If you everyday carry it. It's like me. A lot of times I carry a O Pen Mini, right? Because I get tired of people stealing my pens at work. So I just carry a pen that I don't give to anyone. It's in my pockets this long. I don't have it on me. I had it today in my pocket, but I took it out because I'm home. Mattisfaction, yes, and Matt has his own store too, and a lot of crazy stuff in his store. I think he has the track squirrel with a knife and some other crazy shit. So Mike Jernick said snow taste Stacy, but too soon for me. Nicole's in here too. What's up? Hi humans. What's up, Minion? Thanks for popping in. Let's see. Leland Phil is throwing up his. He says, I got an OD green. Wow. Let's try that again. An OD Green Baton 3, a tactile turn Ultim Bolt pen, and Big Idea Design Dual Click Mini Nice, Leatherman Free P2. Very nice, sir. Some greetings going out to Nicole. People are greeting her. Mike's in Pittsburgh, PA. I think it's going to be a very snowy winter, says Stacy. You could be right. It could be a very snowy winter. It's very possible. Michael Morgan says, hashtag be up. That is right. So we got two hashtags going on. We got this one. We got hashtag be up. And then also, guys, we're going to do this in a little bit here. Don't forget that this Minions Carry Knives is my hashtag for you guys. So one of the things I want to remind people is that if you use Instagram and even over here on YouTube, if you post a video or short or something, you can hashtag it on YouTube as well. But especially if you're over on Instagram and you decide you have an Instagram account and you post knife pictures, which is mainly what I use my account for, I would say 90% of the time. Use this hashtag Minions Carry Knives add it to your posts. It won't change where other places where your posts go, but what it will do is it will populate a page specifically for people who follow me. And all of your knife posts will be available for everyone else who's a follower of Eionan's Edge, both on Instagram and here, to go over there and look and check out your knives. I'm going to show some knives today. That's part of a new segment that we're doing. I'm going to show off some people's knives, and you will get to see the knives that other people are taking pictures of and carrying. So there you go. If you want this group of folks to be able to go to one spot and see all the knives that we're posting, hashtag Minions Carry Knives is where you want to post on Instagram. And I'm very thankful for those of you who have done that as well. I really appreciate it a lot. Let's go back and check up on some more comments. I'm still waiting for my 5 and 5 guests to come in for the day. Let's see here. Jason Brown's daughter, Nora's College Fund. Yep. Let's go check that out too. There's a 529 that was set up by Bearded Doom. You can donate money to her, which she will get when she's an adult to go to college. It is also tax deductible. My man Gonzo is in the house. Gonzo is in here with the be up. Yes, I mixed up the times. I keep forgetting that I'm not West Coast anymore. I'm actually 1 hour behind. So I started at 3. I should have started at 4 o'clock my time. So yes, I am early and I apologize for that. But I got 25 of you guys in here. So we're just gonna go until my back won't tolerate sitting in this chair anymore, and we'll see how that goes. There will be a story time. I do have a 5 and 5 guest. He will probably be coming on a little later. Gonzo says, how goes it, brother? It goes okay. It goes pretty good. Back's better. It's on the mend. I don't know how I'm going to feel after sitting in this chair for an hour and a half or 2 hours, but we'll see what happens. We'll see. We'll find out. No, as Urban Wood's been asked, Gonzo, that is not a pot plant behind me, but, be okay if it was. You're not late, Darnell. No, I'm late, but here now. Afternoon to you, Aaron. Said you're not. I actually messed up the time and came on early today. So you're probably right on time. So you're fine. Don't forget, folks, to hit that like button if you're in here with me. I'm just trying to greet everybody. Do pocket checks. Yes, please throw up your pocket check. And I'm waiting for my 5 and 5 guest to come in here. I'm assuming he'll be along in a little while because I came on early because I'm a dumbass. Where's my crayons? Anyway, yeah, throw your pocket checks up there, and we will. Yeah, we can fix that. I don't need to fix it. Just because I don't have one there doesn't mean there's not one somewhere else. Hint, hint. That's why I say I know you and I are gonna have a good time at Blade Show this year, brother. All right. Let's see. Glad to hear your back is doing better. It is. It is doing better. I just hope that sitting in this chair for an hour and a half doesn't jack it up too much. But it's definitely on the mend again. You know, when you got arthritis and you've got a couple of bad discs down there, um, 3, 4, and 5, L3, 4, and 5 are a little wonky for me. And most of the time, I'm pretty good about keeping my back in good shape. But sometimes you just do something silly, hurt it, and that's all it takes. Plus, all those years carrying all that heavy gear and stuff in the Marine Corps and playing, hockey and doing all the other stuff that I've done, extreme stuff I've done, has definitely taken its toll on my spine. So, but I'm not going to sit here complaining. So we're going to move on. We're going to have a good time. Urban's got a ton of greetings he's just thrown out there, but he also is throwing out his pocket check. He says today's pockets: the Megaron Carix, the Pena Raptor, Tops Bull Trout. I love that knife. Love that knife. Grumpy loaned me a Tops Bull Trout, and I didn't want to send it back to him. Of course I did, but I didn't want to send it back to him. I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't want to part with you. A SIG 365 Pew Pew. I have the X. Mrs. Edge has the standard one. And my legend beard comb and homemade microfiber Hank Tapo pattern. And yes, I wore the cowboy hat today. That's all right, brother. You do you. Okay, you do you. Let's see what else we got going on here. We got Instagram Campfire Leatherworks. That's right. That is Iggy's. I have not seen. Is Iggy in here? Iggy, if you're in here, post up. Yes, definitely check out Campfire Leatherworks. Iggy did some beautiful stuff for us, and she's done some other things that you guys are going to get a chance to see when we get into the holidays. Hint, hint. And you definitely want to go support her. Her leatherwork stuff is really top quality, really, really good. I was super impressed with the 2 billfolds that we picked up from her. Let's see. Oh, look who just joined. Marcos Gap, winner of not one, but two present prize packs for Halloween. He just got his stuff recently too. So awesome. I'm super stoked that you won not one, but two things from my giveaways and had a good time. So it was a fun night, and I was super stoked that people who watch the channel all the time actually won something. You know, that's always a good thing, right? Let's see what else we got going on here. Some other greetings going on. Let me show you what I got. Seeing as how a lot of you guys are being a little remiss in your pocket checks, telling me what you got, I'll tell you what I carried today. I carried a Brazilian real for a coin. This was my pocket coin today. This is the real. See if I can get this thing to focus. It's not on macro, but there we go. There's the real right there. And then let's turn it around the other way. You can see the other side of it. Yeah. 1 real. It says real, but they call it a real. So that's what I carried today for a coin. Since I was just running errands and doing grocery shopping and other stuff like that, I carried a small flashlight, but I always have a flashlight on me. I have the Olight. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it, camera. Come on. Here it goes. The i3 EOS. Instead of carrying an SD Classic today, I decided to carry my classic. There we go. To carry my classic This one is a cadet. This is an oldie. They now call this the Recruit, but it's actually the original version of the knife. It's called the Cadet. And I really like this. It still has the toothpick on one side and the fingernail file on the other, and it has scissors, and it has a couple of different blades on it and a bottle opener and some other stuff. But it's just one of those days where I didn't really feel like putting a classic in my pocket, so I didn't carry it. And then my actual regular carry knife for today was a knife by one of my favorite manufacturers, United States made knife, and in my opinion, the best right now, the best OEM as far as factory edges, factory sharpening goes. Hogue Gen 2 Deca Warncliffe. I don't know why we're having some issues with focusing on the camera today, but we are. There it goes. So this is the Warncliffe bladed Deca Gen 2 Deca in CPM MagnaCut. Right? Now, the only thing I don't like about this knife is the fact that it has plastic / FRN type scales, but everything else about it I love. It actually is super light and very balanced, and you can see right there on the screen if it ever zooms in. Here goes CPM MagnaCut. Love this knife. I own a couple of bug outs, but honestly, for the money, if you're going to go with a Grivery / plastic handled bug out, you're better off buying one of these. You get better steel. You got two blade choices. You've got a drop point, well, clip point, but basically a more traditional blade, and then you get this Warncliffe style one. You can get it stone washed or black washed. Great knife, reversible pocket clip. Got the access able, as Hogue calls it, style lock. So this is what I carried today. Yes. Well, the problem, Michael Morgan, with the GOAT deck of scales is they're all sold out. I actually want to get a set of those GOAT deck of scales for this. I would like to put a set of those the original GOAT scales on this. But if you're just looking for a good knife that's easy to put in your pocket and you're willing to spend $120-ish for some good blade steel, because this is CPM MagnaCut, then this is definitely an option. You put those scales on, now you got a $200 knife. Now you're kind of back in the realm of bug out again. So I was a little surprised that they put the cheaper scales on the MagnaCut version of the knife, but instead of the G10 scales like you can get on the 20 CV version. I have two 20 CV knives, of two of these in 20 CV with the G10 scales. But anyway, this is what I'm carrying today. I am carrying this as my primary knife. I freaking love Hogue's knives. And do not, I repeat, do not let this blade come in contact with your skin. The Hogues are always so sharp that all you got to do is look at them the wrong way or make a mistake flipping one open, and you will cut yourself. And this thing is right out of the box. After just a couple flicks, it was drop shutty just like that. Okay. So that's what I got on me. Let's see. We got a few other posts in here since I started telling you what I got. We got G-Ball who popped in the house. Hey, what's going on there? One of my longtime and favorite minions. So what's up, my brothers and sisters? Laura Gillespie is here today. Good to see you, Laura, as always. Thank you for stopping in to the live stream. Stacy's throwing out some greetings. Ed's throwing out some greetings. Michael's throwing out some greetings. And Darnell. Today, I just got a Kershaw bare knuckle. I have a CRKTLCK, the Citivian ST109, denim knife roll. Very nice. Very nice. Forest tank with mustaches on it, all from our friend Michael Morgan at Jason Brown's raffle. That's right. That's right. Bearded Doom, by the way, claimed mine and my wife's raffle. So he got the Mrs. Edge Hank he had been wanting, fidget ball, some knife pouches, and two amazing handmade wire wrapped pendants from Miss Sedge. So good for him and good for you, Darnell. You definitely deserve it, my friend. I was really happy to see the knife community come together for that. And I was curious who decided to claim the three Jason Grant grippers that my good friend Satu Dave donated. He donated the custom sample, which was pretty much a one of a kind. And then he donated a production prototype, and then he donated an actual production knife. So three slightly different knives, which Jason Grant says he's never going to make again. So somebody scored huge on that one because Dave spent an awful lot of money purchasing those three knives, and then he gave them away to raise money for Jason. That's our community. That's what this community does. That's what this community is all about. And Dave is, again, he's another one of those people. He's amongst the best of us, right? So quite fitting that he did that for Jason's charity raffle. All right, we got a lot of greetings going on. People greeting everybody. G-Ball's greeting people. Other people are being greeted. Very cool. Again, I'm still waiting for my 5 and 5 guest, but Ed Darnell says this community is totally awesome, blessing a lot of us. It is true. It is definitely true. Can you get aftermarket scales for the Kubi? I do not believe you can. Don't quote me on that, but I'm going to say no. Yeah, G-Ball throwing out some greetings, says Gons and Eionan. What's going on, brother? Yeah. All right. So you told me what you had in your pockets. Most of you did. And I showed you what I had in my pocket. So that's cool. While I'm waiting a little bit longer for my 5 and 5 guests to come on here, I will tell you that one of my upcoming, I have a couple of really cool knives for my upcoming reviews, but one of my upcoming knife reviews is going to be this. The EMP EDC Nimble X. This knife is on loan to me from my good friend Q-Ball, but this is the only knife that I really was sad I missed out on. And now I find out that there's going to be a V2, a version 2 Nimble X drop, where they made a couple of very small tweaks to this knife to fix a couple of little things that people complained about, even though this is still an amazing knife. And I would be totally happy with one of these OG ones like this. Apparently, they're going to release those probably pretty soon. I'm thinking right after the holidays is when they'll decide to drop those. We're on a little bit of a knife burnout drop thing right now. If you haven't been paying attention, there is a custom version of the growler that's going to be coming out that Lefty and Kevin and Colin are working on. This one has a Mokutai clip. Not a Mokutai fan, but to each his own. And I do love the clip design on all the EMP EDC Nimbles. But anyway, they're going to have a custom version of the growler. They're going to have another knife that is coming out very soon as well. And then they've still got the Mash that hasn't been released. They did do the pre-order on the Buzz. But the other knife they have coming out is going to be a joint effort, and it is a slip joint, and it's really cool looking, and it's going to be like $100 or less for that knife. So all really, really cool stuff. And like I said, all of these nimbles are great. I really love my OG nimble, my original one, and I wanted a knife that was exactly the same but just larger than my OG nimble. So I really wanted an X, but when the drop happened for these, I just didn't have the money. It just wasn't a possibility at all. So it didn't happen. Yes, that's what it was. Stacy said the Devo slip joint with Urban ED Supply looks awesome. That is true. And it's going to be budget priced. So what I dig is, you might have remembered recently that I reviewed the QSP Hedgehog, which is going to be released anytime now, probably before the end of the year for sure. And it might even be out already. I'm not sure. But I reviewed that back before it was available when we had a production sample of it from QSP. and it was going to be between like $55 and $70. And it's an amazing knife. It is a traditional knife, but it looks like a more modern version of a slip joint. And I loved it. And the knife that Lefty and Colin are working on here with that's going to be sold through Urban EDC Supply looks amazing as well. And it's going to be an affordable knife. It's not going to be a Pena or a Jack Wolf or whatever. That they're all beautiful, but they cost a lot of money. So these are going to be very affordable slip joints, and I think that have a much more modern look to them. And I think that that's a great way to go for a lot of people. Let's see here. Yes, Debo Knives throwing up the link for them. I'm still patiently, aka I'm screaming, wants it now for an EMP EDC relative. The relative's really cool. If I had the money, I would probably own one of everything that EMP EDC offers. But when it comes down to budget wise, I have to pick and choose the ones I really like. So for me, I've got a W, I've got an original Nimble, I've got a first production W, and I would love to have a Nimble X, right, of my own. And those would be the three biggies for me. And then after that, I think I will try to pick up the other knives as we go. But those are the big three for me. Give me a Nimble with a Warncliffe, that's a no-brainer. Give me a bigger version of the original Nimble, which is the X. That's a no-brainer. So yes, the relative looks super cool as well, right? So Nimble with different kind of blade style, basically, little bit of a size variation. Bo Schnoggins is in here tonight. He says, "Hey, knife family, hello to you, sir." Here's the deal with Bobo too. I shouted him out once before, but I will shout Bobo out again. He sent me a Rosecraft Pocket Monster that is going to be part of a giveaway, probably the holiday giveaway. I'm going to review it first, and a few other items, including some sort of prize pack filler and swag stuff. So huge shout out to Bobo. Been a fantastic person to have as a member of my channel and part of the minions, the group of minions that are out there, including all of you guys. Ed Harrison's thrown out some greetings, and he says, today I carried my Civivi Conspirator. Might be my favorite button lock at the moment. For those of you who are Microtech, Protect Malibu fans, sorry, that knife has not aged well. For the money, I will take a Conspirator instead. My fixed blade, Keith the Knife Freak made for me, Jason Brown auction, and my Glock 380. There you go. Got to have them pew-pews. Pew-pews. Laura Gillespie says the reverse tux Nimble is my grail, but I'll never own it because it's far, far out of my budget. I didn't really have a choice when I bought my first Nimble. I bought it from Cue Ball. He had two of them. He knew I was in love with one of the original Nimbles that he owned, the black one with the blue, and I borrowed it. And then he was like, I got two of them. I'll sell it to you. So it wasn't a color choice thing. I didn't buy it from EMP EDC. But when I bought the W, I did have a choice, and I went with reverse tux, and I'm very happy I did. It's an amazing looking knife. It just really, really pops. Probably will try to go with that same color scheme for the next Nimble X drop, but we'll see how that goes. One thing to remember, you can sezzle EMP EDC if you buy through them, not through Urban EDC. I don't know about Urban EDC, but EMP EDC, when you buy a knife through their website, they do offer a sezzle option. So as long as you can afford a quarter of the knife every 2 weeks, you can pick one up. Food for thought. Let's see who else we got in here. Bobo's in here. A lot of greetings. Let's see what else we got here. Conspirator is excellent. I would agree. It's one of my favorite button locks. I love the Thick Boy. The Thick Boy is really cool. If I had the money, that would be added to this. Like I said, I don't want one of every one of their knives if I could afford it. But my three for me are the Nimble X, and the Nimble W. So right now I have two of the three knives from them that I really want. That's right. G-Ball says, for pay, baby. Yes, sir. We always joke about Sezzle, but I'll tell you right now, there's a couple of expensive knives I have that I wouldn't own if Sezzle didn't exist, because I didn't have all that money at the time, but I could afford every payday to pay for the knife. So I'm a big fan of Sezzle. And then there's another one too. I forget what it is. I know they have a PayPal Pay, but there's another one besides Sezzle, and I forget what that one's called. But I like when they offer at least some of the inventory for that because it makes it a lot easier. The only EMP ED symbol I don't have is the Thick Boy version 2. Yeah. And David says, I had a Protect Mordex, was not impressed. Here's my thing with the Malibu, and I'm not going to go. I'm not trying to be a Protect basher. I have held some of their knives that I like, but I've held and used 3 Protect Malibus. One of those knives I had for several months, and every one of them that I have put my hands on has had button stick. They've all had. They're all button locks, right? And every one of them's had button stick, noticeable button stick. And I carried one of them for one day and the finish got scratched on it, and I wasn't at work that day. That really sucked. It really sucked to borrow a knife from somebody and then it got scratched. Small scratch, but still got scratched. Don't know how that happened. Uh, there were a couple small things. There was a tiny bit of pivot lash on one of those 3 knives, and I was like, "Whoa, there's pivot lash on a $300 knife," right? So, I just haven't been super impressed with them. I feel like the knife is still a good knife. It hasn't aged well in comparison to a lot of the other button locks that are out there. If you put some of the other popular button locks side by side with it, the Hogue Ballista, for instance, fantastic knife, right? And doesn't cost less than half of what a Protect Malibu does. So again, are is it a good knife? Yes. Are there better values out there for similar knives? Yes. I'm going to say yes to that. The Mordax is a great knife if you get a BGM regrind on it. Yeah, but then here you go, right? You got an expensive knife that you got to go and get reground, right? It's kind of like my argument for the bug out, where I always say, I'll save that comment for later because that's part of my chat topic today. Let's see here. Wow, man, mate. Where are we at? We're at 352. We've been almost an hour. Oh shit. Well, maybe yes. And if you need a knife sharpened and you're not comfortable sharpening an expensive knife yourself, Freak Show. Freak Show does sharpening, so hit him up if you want to get a knife sharpened. All right. Yes, Mimo, the button sticking was irritating and it was noisy when you open and close it, made lots of noise. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. I think that when the Malibu came out, it was kind of the first premium button lock to really hit the market and be successful. People loved them. I mean, I know people in the knife community, I disagree with this, but they say that's in their top 3 knives of all time. I'm like, okay, so be it. But to each his own. But I have not really been blown away by the Malibu. I just haven't. Like I said, I've had a chance to actually handle and hold and use 3 of them, and none of those knives impressed me. All of them had button stick, noticeable button stick, and that I just don't feel like that's acceptable on a knife that costs as much as that one does. Anywho, moving on to other topics. Honey Bear just jumped in here recently. There he is. He says, "Howdy, everyone. What's going on?" And he threw up a couple of cold beers. So I'll be having later with my tacos over there. So while I'm waiting to see if my 5 and 5 person shows up tonight, and hopefully they do, because I did not bring any extra knives out here. So hopefully the 5 and 5 person shows up and you will get a chance to see their knives. G-Ball says, my one Malibu had button stick for about 2 to 3 months. My other Malibu and Mordox didn't have any issues. The button stick eventually went away. Yeah, I had one of those Malibus for 2.5, 3 months, and I used it a lot. I opened and closed it a lot. It just never got any better. And then the finish getting scratched on it when I basically breathed on it really pissed me off. I was like, I had to tell somebody that I scratched their expensive knife that they loaned me. And of course I would never, I'm like, I'm willing to pay for the knife or buy it or whatever, but they weren't really too worried about it, but they were surprised that it got scratched. And I was too. I had a Malibu 2 days before I moved it along, definitely not for me. Yeah, and again, I'm not bashing them, the company. I'm just saying that that particular knife wasn't super impressive for me. Neil, my friend Neil McKenzie, lunch break until 16:30. Have to watch later. Oh, okay. Well, thanks, Neil, for stopping in. Hit the like button for me, brother. And I will be talking to you very soon. I'm just waiting for payday to roll around here later this week, and then you and I hopefully can catch up soon after that. Let's see. And David says, I don't like noisy knives. The hollow scales on a Benchmade Griptilian is very noisy. The Griptilian is a noisy knife. I will give you that, especially the full size one. The mini grip, not so much, because I just think there's less mass there. There's less steel there to make noises. Blazeberger says, I got to head out. I'll catch you later on Cole's Live. Eionan, thoughts of going for my brother. Good seeing you. Yes, thank you. Thank you to everybody who sent well wishes to me and Mrs. Edge, who's going back in for more chemo tomorrow. Big shout out to my friend Neil. He's at work, but he tries to jump on here and help out when he can. So let's see. Marco says, Eionan's Edge, wonder if they were affected by you being on an hour earlier. Yes, it's very possible. I I spaced on that. I really did, guys. It's my fault. I forgot that, I'm not Pacific time anymore. I'm an hour behind that. So here we are, 4 o'clock. This is when I would normally come on. So we might see a little jump here. We might press the thumbs up button, everyone. Mark Herrera, welcome in, sir. And yes, please hit the thumbs up button for me, the like button. That definitely helps. Got 30 something of you guys in here, even though I came on an hour early. And we're right there with the likes. Beautiful. Fantastic. Fantastic. But I do think that's probably what happened. Some people probably got affected by me coming on early, and I will have a story here toward the end of the broadcast. And I'm just trying to kill a little bit of time in a good way until see if my 5 and 5 guest shows up. I think he probably will be in here in about another 20 or 30 minutes if I were to guess. So let me throw something out to you guys. Well, since we started early and since I want to try to kind of smooth us into this transition here, I usually save my chat topic for after Knife Show and Tell, but I'm going to put that out first. Driving and listening to y'all. Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate it. So I mentioned a few minutes ago about that I'm carrying a Hogue Deca Gen 2, and I have 3 of those knives. And the knife that I always compare it the most closely to is this, right? Here's an original Benchmade bug out S30V, Grivery plastic scales, just very easy to squeeze this knife and bend these scales, and the knife feels very generic in your hand. Now, I do like the bug out. Okay, I do. But I've had a couple of arguments about this bug out with people because even though this is generally a good knife, and it was also Benchmade's design, so to speak, to put an access lock knife with a really super thin blade profile, some decent S30V blade steel, and a good clip design, but then they gave you this really terrible feeling plastic that is not necessarily feels very great in your hand. Now, some people love the bug out, and I have no issues with that. But to me, the Hogue Deca is a bug out killer because the Hogue Decas are basically the same knife. And if I were to, I have 2 of my Decas here. If I were to pull out my red, white, and blue, let's do that. Here's my red, white, and blue Deca next to the bug out. So they're both Access Able Lock style knives. Hogue's Access Able Lock is better, smoother, closes better than the original Access Lock. I don't know why. There has to be some little design change they did to that, but it just always closes better. This comes with the 20 CV steel, which is better than the S30V. It comes with G10 scales, and you cannot squeeze these G10 scales and move them like you can on the bug out. So I've always called the Deca a bug out killer because it really is a bug out with some of the design features improved. It's basically the same knife, right? And then they make it in not only in that drop point version, but they make it in a Warncliffe version. So let's just take this $126 Deca Gen 2 Magna Cut, mind you, CPM Magna Cut, a very, very good steel, okay? That I would argue is not necessarily head and shoulders above S30V, but it's a better steel, okay? So these two are the most comparable. They're both Grivery, they're both access locks, right? This knife right now is selling most places I've seen it for around $130, $40, and it has scales on it that you can squeeze and bend very easily. This knife is selling for around $125 to $30, comes with better steel, has a better access slash able lock system. I like the clip better on this knife. And you can get these to bend, these plastic ones, but they don't bend easily. And then the downside is that this does feel a little less substantial than the knife, their version of the knife with the G10 scales. But if I had to pick one of these two knives to purchase between a stock bug out and a stock Deca Gen 2, I'm taking this sucker every time. Not to mention the fact that the sharpening, the edge that Hogue puts on these knives is fantastic. So that's my question to you guys. If you're looking at it from a price perspective, the Hogue being less money with better steel and thicker plastic grips, they both have plastic grips. Would you rather have the Hogue or would you rather have the Benchmade bug out? My question to you guys. Which one would you rather have? Also, the other little thing I would add in is you do get the same quality Hogue carrying case with the Deca. And you do not get a carrying case with the bug out. You get a pouch. You get a drawstring pouch. Maybe that won't sway your opinion, but maybe it will. Who knows? Let's see. So let me see here. So we already got a whole bunch of comments people throwing in there. Let's see. Honey Bear says it's the Bud Light of knives. It works well. It's highly crushable. Leland Phil says I can't keep the bug out stock. That's most knife cars, etc. I have a couple of bug outs. My favorite bug out is the one I bought, the desert tan and gray Cerakoted blade, and that one now has Coyote Tan applied weapons technology scales on it, and it totally changed the knife. As soon as you put those aluminum scales on, it makes that knife feel like a different knife. The scales have a little different shape. They have nice texturing. They're made of aluminum. The knife feels sturdy, doesn't feel like it wants to bend when you're gripping it hard in your hand. None of those things apply once you change the scales on the bug out. But as soon as you change the scales, you got a $200+ knife easily with a bug out. Whereas if you spend $160 and you buy the 20 CV version of the Deca, you get a knife with nice, thick, textured G10 scales, much better blade steel for only a fraction more money. And you don't really have to upgrade that version of the knife. Let's see who else. Anybody else got some opinions? David says, I agree that the Deca is better than the bug out. Okay. Morgan, better steel, stronger springs and handles on the Hogue, I imagine. Yes, the access lock is a little, the springs on it are a little stronger. Yep. The base Hogue is better than the base bug out, no matter what anyone wants to say. I don't really disagree with that, G-Ball. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make. I mean, if I got these two knives to pick from, this one here, this one being the cheaper of the two knives with better steel, I am going to go with this one. And again, I'm not anti-bug out. I own three of these size ones and one mini. But my mini has titanium, aluminum, stonewash scales, and one of my other bug outs, my favorite bug out, has the applied weapons technology scales on it. So then you got to spend money to take a pretty expensive knife that's coming from an American manufacturer and upgrade it to get it to feel like you want it to. Freak Show says, I love the bug out except for the plastic scales. I bought replacement scales. Before I bought my first bug out, I prefer the neutrality of the bug out handle over the Deca handle, but that is all. I can understand that. The Deca handle does have some curvature to it, and it does have this relief choil here, and it has a little bit of it's a little bit more, what do you want to call it? It's got a little bit more scalloping, whereas the bug out is, you're right, neutral. It's almost flat. It's got a little bit of a recess there, but it's pretty much a flat handle otherwise. Uh Benchmade has their warranty over Hogue. That's it. Yeah, I got you on that. I've never really had a problem with a Hogue knife. I've had to send a Benchmade knife back that I bought brand new, and Benchmade did fix it and make it right. But I've never really had an issue with the Hogue knives. I will say the one other thing with Hogue, like I said, is they're sharpening. Whoever sharpens their knives needs a raise, because their knife sharpening is pretty legit for a production made knife. I mean, they have some real, I won't say they're, like professional, like as nice as you get on some of the high end knives, but man, I've never taken a Hogue out of the box that hasn't been so sharp it would cut you if you looked at it with a dirty, you gave it a dirty look, it would cut you. Uh let's see. I love my carbon fiber S90V bug out though. Yeah. What's funny about that is I've held two of those, and both of those had blade centering issues. And one of those two, besides having blade centering issues, also wouldn't, like, it didn't close, it didn't open and close right. And that's an expensive knife. Very expensive knife. Deca hands down. I'm not a Benchmade fan because of their prices. So Hogue. You can get a premium Hogue with Magna Cut and carbon fiber for 150. The carbon fiber S90 bug out is $270. Yeah. So this is kind of the comment, the chat that I wanted to bring up. And the reason I'm bringing this up as a chat topic is because they're two American knife manufacturers. It makes me wonder how Hogue, who traditionally has been known as a firearms accessory manufacturer mainly, but it makes me wonder how they're able to offer, in a lot of cases, the same or better materials for less money than Benchmade. Is it because Benchmade has more name recognition in the knife community? Is it because Hogue runs their business better and is able to more efficiently and is able to still make adequate profit margins off of that product with as good or better, in most cases, better materials than you're getting from Benchmade? And again, I'm not an anti-Benchmade guy. I've got over a dozen of their knives. So I would say I'm a pretty big fan of Benchmade too, in terms of just what some of their knives represent to me. But I'm using this knife as an example of how they seem to be able to deliver a little bit higher quality product than a US competitor who's making a comparable knife, right? I mean, these knives are very comparable. You're not going to go wrong buying either one of them. This one's going to cost you more money, but they're comparable, and they're both US manufacturers. So I don't know. I'm trying to wrap my head around why Hogue seems to have a better reputation generally and is able to put out as good or better knives for less money. Native Wildman says, I'll have to check out Hogue. Yes. Michael says, never handled either, but Hogue all day if I was in the market for one. Okay, there you go. Mike says, both my bug outs have crossfade scales. It makes a difference. There you go. Right. So, but here's my thing. If you buy a bug out for let's say you get a super killer deal on one, you get one for $130. Pretty hard to find one right now, a stock bug out for under a buck 30-ish. But let's suppose that you get one. And like most of us, you don't like the scales. And I understand why they designed them this way. It's supposed to be a lightweight knife that you can throw in a backpack or whatever and take with you if you need to bug out of wherever you are and they want to save weight. And they're not easy to break. Zach did a whole torture test on one of the exact blue one, just like I just showed you, where he dropped it out of a window, drove it over with a car, battened with it, did a whole bunch of stuff. It didn't break. Didn't break. But the vast majority of the community doesn't like the scales on that knife and changes them. I myself am one of those people. So Waldo says he enjoys them both, and that's cool. Me too. I do enjoy both of these knives for different reasons. For different reasons. But my favorite bug out is the one with the applied weapons technology scales on it. That knife feels like a different knife. It doesn't feel like a bug out. Let's put it that way. Let's see here. Waldo's World. Nick Martino's in here. He says, Lava, and if the bug out never came to be. Well, that's a good point. I mean, does 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 Hogue still come out with a very similar knife design with some better steel and maybe I would say better action and better factory edge? If Benchmade doesn't come out with the bug out, good question. That's a very, very good question, Nick. Sorry, guys, driving home and listening. Yep. No, that's okay, man. But you brought up a good point, right? So, Benchmade did do it first. They did do it first. They did come out with that small, thin spined, thin behind the edge type of knife, that you can carry that's lightweight and doesn't take up a lot of space or weight in whatever gear you're carrying. So I would give him some kudos for that. I changed the pocket clip on it to deep carry and it made the volley much better. Oh, you're talking about the Benchmade. Yeah, that's a cool knife. Byron Kennedy says, I wouldn't own either. They're too small, but it's the same with Hogue Sig K320 or Hogue Ritter RSK over the Griptilian or the Freak. That's actually a good point. So I have the Hogue Ritter RSK Mark One, and that is basically a nicer Griptilian in every way: ergonomics, blade steel, blade shape, deployment. So much to the point that I recently traded my virtually brand new Griptilian that I had. I have two Griptilians, but I had a brand new one that I hardly ever used. I traded that to Gonzo for some with a couple of other knives a, for a couple of his knives. Uh, yeah. So the Ritter is a good example of that. Like I understand it's designed by Doug Ritter, but that's also partly because way back when Benchmade decided not to continue on with Doug and he went over to Hogue. And the K320 is one of the most ergonomically friendly knives you'll ever put in your hand, ever. If you pick that knife up and say that you can't find a good grip on that, regardless of what hand size you have, I would be shocked because everybody that I know who owns one or has handled one is like, wow, this knife feels really good in my hand. Has a good sized blade, has a good feel to it, good sized grips, has multiple places you can hold it. Right. So again, you're right, Byron. It's the same with some of the Hogue knives that are very comparable to other knives in the Benchmade lineup. Let's see. Good evening. Dwayne Letterman's in the house. That's right. And Stacy brings up a good point. Every purchase of a Ritter knife funds knife rights, right? That's why I'm thinking about buying a mini Doug Ritter RSK. We got some other greetings going on. Freak just said you got to pay that butterfly tax. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing with name recognition. When I got into collecting better knives, a Benchmade was the first premium knife that I bought. I bought a mini boost, uh, assisted mini boost. I still have that knife, and I could appreciate the workmanship and appreciate the difference in materials and all that other stuff. So the name recognition is definitely part of it. I think if you were to ask two people who are not knife people generally, who say don't have a big knife collection, maybe they just carry a knife, but they really don't know. If you were to ask two people, would they rather have a Benchmade or would they rather have a Hogue? And you were talking about two knives that were pretty much the same. I bet you, sight unseen, most people would probably take the Benchmade because they know the name. They know the butterfly, right? They know the Benchmade's a US made knife, and they probably don't know much about Hogue. And I'm assuming that's probably why they're able to get more for their knives. Maybe Hogue's level of corporate greed is as high as Benchmade. And there's my boy Mimo, just kicking that door wide open. I love it. Thank you, sir. Um, and that's possible too. It's possible, like I said, knowing how long Hogue has been in business and their reputation in the firearms market, in the pew pew market, I tend to think that they're very good at what they do in terms of a manufacturing point of view. And when you're very good at it and your company's fairly well managed and it has been for a long time, it's probably that probably shows up in the bottom line that the consumer pays for the knife as well. Could they get more money for their knives? Yep. And they are going to be doing that. They just came out with a custom line. Like I just saw the Instagram post on that today. I don't know when that officially happened, but they do now offer a custom line for 3 or 4 of their most popular knives. You can get them in carbon fiber with anodized hardware and et cetera, and they're going to cost more money. But when you're talking about the basic blue line Benchmades and the basic Hogues, you definitely are getting more money, more knife for your money. And again, I'm not sure exactly what the whole reasoning for that is, but again, you're right, Michael. It could just be that. It could just be that fact, right? So let's see. What else have we got here? You're paying for the name, yeah? Okay, yeah. Good thing Zach's not in the stream. He'd be losing his mind probably. And I love Zach. He's done me a bunch of favors. Uh, but I've had this conversation with a handful of other people before, and it always seems to go the way that this chat is going tonight. Which US manufacturers are not really US made? Copperlight Steve, first of all, thank you for coming in. I have not caught you in the live here in a few weeks, so it's good to have you back, buddy, and hanging out. Um, well, I know SOG is not US owned anymore. Just like Cold Steel is not US owned anymore. I don't know which of their knives are made in the United States or not made in the United States anymore. But there are lots of people, there are lots of companies out there that do kind of like what Asher does, where they buy parts from somebody else and they assemble them. Now, there are some companies that are buying some US made parts and buying other parts from overseas and then building knives out of them. I think the disclosure on that should be that, we're a US made company, but, some of your parts may be sourced from outside the United States. I'm sure there are some US knife makers that are probably buying small screws and hardware overseas to bring in and put on their knives. They might be making a lot of the knives here in the United States, but I bet some of the hardware stuff is probably not theirs. It's probably sourced and it's probably coming from somewhere outside the US, more than likely. Let's see what else we got going on here. Maybe Baron Sons at some point. That's possible, yeah. Some of their less expensive knives. I could see that totally. Brashear Bear says, "Evening, Eionan and chat. Continued thoughts and prayers for Mrs. E. Thank you very much. She is doing well, but tomorrow is the second in this second half of chemo. It is the second treatment, and that usually is makes for a pretty rough 5 to 7 days for us. So hopefully we'll get through the second part a little better than we did the first stage of it. G-Ball says, Copperlight, I'd have to believe there's companies owned by people in the US, but source everything out to China and Taiwan. Exactly. And that's what I was kind of alluding to. There are definitely companies that, I mean, I'm not trying to stir up a whole can of worms with this. I was really more just saying, what would you prefer? If you had two knives that were made by US manufacturers and they were very, very similar to each other in design, in size, in width, in all of these other areas, these two knives are very, very much the same the same two knives with different blade shapes. And like I said, you can get the Deca in, a clip point. It's more like the traditional bug out. Which one would you rather have? For me, I'm going to go with the Hogue because I feel like the materials are better, and the factory edge that you get on the knife is always amazing. Let's see here. What else we got going on? We got some greetings. Let's see. David says the RSK also has better scales. Totally agree. The texturing on the Ritter RSK, the scale texturing is superior, right? And a lot of people say, well, you can buy aftermarket scales for the Griptilian. But again, my point is why? Now you're spending more money to get the knife like you want it. And I'm not opposed to that. I'm just saying you will spend more money. I love access lock knives, but my favorite is still Spyderco's version of the ball lock. Interesting. I like a lot of different locking mechanisms, and I find myself going back and forth between them sometimes. They don't have to be fidgety for me to like them. I like the back lock on my Spyderco Native 5 lightweight. There are things I like about having a compression lock on a knife like my Yojimbo. So it really just depends. And then I always like this classic liner lock as long as it's done properly. The lockup is good. It doesn't have lock stick. There's enough cutaway there or space for me to stick my large glove size finger in there and open and close the knife. I actually have the most problems with frame locks because depending on the size of the knife, a lot of times when I go to open a frame lock, I tend to put one or two of my fingers against the frame lock and then the knife doesn't want to open. And the last thing I want when I buy a knife is to try to open it and to struggle to get the blade to deploy. So when it comes to frame locks, I'm very, very particular about the knives that I buy, especially if I'm spending a lot of money. By the way, on that note, huge shout out to Kevin and Colin because when they designed the Stout, they hid the frame lock underneath the scale. Brilliant. Fucking brilliant. I love it. I absolutely love it. Right? That's one of my favorite things about that knife. It is a frame lock that doesn't look like a frame lock. And I never have to worry about sticking my hand on the frame lock and the knife not deploying. That's fantastic. Fan-freaking-tastic. All right, so let's see. Corporal Light Steve says, I am waiting on another Magna Cut Ritter drop here. There you go, right? So, and that's the thing. Thus far, my Magna Cut experience has been a pretty positive one on this knife. I don't feel like the knife feels soft in terms of its edge holding ability. It cuts pretty well. I haven't had to sharpen it yet. I lightly stropped it after using it a couple of times just to kind of get it back to razor sharp. But I mean, we're talking two passes, one, two, that's it. I have the 20 CV version of this knife. I've yet to sharpen this knife ever. The only thing I've noticed with 20 CV on a couple of knives I've owned over the last few years is I did have one chip on me. That was a ZT, by the way, and a small chip, but it did chip. And it was up here closer to the tip of the knife. And I don't really remember doing anything. Maybe I caught a staple with it. I might have caught a metal staple with it. That might have been what it was. But the 20 CV knives that are heat treated well hold a fantastic edge too. So with either of these Hogues, I don't think you can really go wrong. Whether you've got a Magna Cut version of the knife or you've got a 20 CV version of the knife, they're both premium steels. And then you have other companies like TRM, Three Rivers Manufacturing, back in Massachusetts, that they use 20 CV exclusively. And man, I'll tell you what, their knives are razor sharp and hold a fantastic edge. So they're doing something right with their heat treat because that's all they use is 20 CV, and they've got it down. They've got that steel dialed in. What's up, Ant? Ant is here. So let me hold on, people. Hold on. All right. I'm throwing up a link for you, Ant. You'll see it there in the chat. All right, let's see what else we got going on here while I wait for my guest to get himself ready and prepared. Let's see. Hogue makes great grips for pew pews. Absolutely, positively. Most, I would say, 80% of my aftermarket grips, grip panels, or stocks are Hogues. So yes, they do. I definitely have been on board with Hogue for many, many years, being in the pew pew community, being you know, a Marine and being into that other hobby as well. Wildman says, I think Cold Steel is much better than Benchmade, but both good knives. Cold Steel is different. So they tend to make more rugged knives that are used by people a lot more often for actual work purposes than I think than Benchmade. I just think based on the popularity of the Benchmade name, there's a lot more Benchmades out there in people's pockets because that's what people know, right? And again, Benchmade's not a bad knife. They got, they have a lifetime warranty. I've never sent the knife back to get it sharpened. I can sharpen my own knives. I'm not a master sharpener, but I'm definitely good enough to sharpen my own knives. I'm not going to send a knife back to the manufacturer to have it sharpened. Not going to happen. Not doing that. But if you want your knife sharpened with a grindy, toothy factory edge like most Benchmades, then you're good to go. You can either give me a thumbs up or you can, up in the right-hand corner of the screen, you should see a private chat icon. You can hit me up in private chat, Ant, or you can just, when you're ready and you're all set up, give me a thumbs up on the screen and let me know that you're ready to come on. So if you haven't guessed already, Ant is going to be coming on to do the 5 in 5. So we have a special guest tonight, somebody who I've been wanting to get on for a while. He was supposed to come on an earlier one and participate, but then I hurt myself. I hurt myself. Got to stop hurting myself. And then I'd be able to have guests on regularly. So, he was there and he just dropped back out. Don't know what happened there. That's weird. I had him. I was gone. Let's see. Urban Needy Supply, Denim Micarta F5.5 drops tomorrow. Pass on that one. But some people are probably very excited about it. Country Boy 1976 in the house. Another member of the Minions Club has joined us here today. Thank you very much for popping in. Marcus, need any more pockets for all that loot? Yeah, Marcos won 2 Halloween giveaways from me. And then he also won one from somewhere else that week before, the same week or whatever. So Marcos has been killing it, man. He's been knocking it out of the park as far as giveaway wins, And then I also went through that too back early in the year there. I won 3 giveaways in the span of 4 weeks. So it happens. Michael Morgan says Zach loves his Hogues too. He does. He does love his Hogues. And I think you're never going to get Zach, I don't think, to say that he likes the Hogues better than the Benchmates. And, let's face it, Benchmade has a much bigger product lineup than Hogue does as well. So there's a lot more choices in the Benchmade lineup. But because there's a lot of similarities between the two knives, and because the Hogues are a little bit better quality knife for a little bit less money, what's not to like, right? Okay, Ant is back. He's trying to get set up, and I think he's close to getting that done. We'll find out here in a minute. All right, I see him on the screen. That looks cool here in backstage land, and I'm just waiting for him to hand me a thumbs up before we get started, and then I will bring him on. Factory location may also impact labor costs. There you go. We were talking about this earlier. Is there a reason? Are they running their business better? Are they making better business decisions? Is their buying power as a big time accessories maker part of the reason that they're able to maybe source materials a little cheaper? Who knows? Or maybe it's like you just said, maybe they're in a state where labor costs are lower, right? Maybe there's more plentiful labor and it's easier to find people or find skilled people that want to come in and work for them. How we doing there? You ready? We got a thumbs up, buddy? We're good? Got a thumbs up. Okay. Here we go, folks. Without further ado, I am going to boom. I'm bringing somebody on the stream here who you guys know and love. How's it going, brother?
Good, man. Good. It's good to finally meet people in face to face.
Yeah, that's right. Is this a reveal for you? Is this the first time you've been live on a live stream?
It is. Yes.
All right. Well, I think that makes about. I think you are about the this year. I think you're probably like the sixth or seventh person that has been on my live stream that has never been on a live. Actually been a guest on a live. So that's super cool. So for
Yeah.
everybody else out there, and I want to thank you too for coming on today and making up for the couple weeks that I wasn't able to get you on. So you're gonna come on and do a 5 and 5 for us, so that's good. Oh, hold on, I gotta edit that. That's the wrong one. And what are you bringing us tonight? What are you gonna be showing? Is there a theme to these? Is this your 5 favorites, 5 most recent, 5 just 5 that you wanted to pick out for tonight? Is there a theme to this?
Well, you gave me way too long to think through this, so I certainly overthought this for sure. And I think obviously the most obvious one is to do my 5 favorite, but I went a different direction. I think this is my introduction to everyone. I would kind of go do through like a knife journey for me. Where I started and kind of
Okay,
where
that's
I'm at
cool.
now. Yeah.
I dig that. I like that a lot. Okay.
Yeah, and it's going to be some of these knives are certainly not impressive, but it's definitely part of my knife journey and kind of the way I ended up in the EDC community.
Hey, look at this, man. You already got fanboys.
Well, thank you, sir.
Right? There you go. There's some people that never saw you before. So
Yeah.
here's what I'm gonna do, man. Did you bring more than 5 knives?
I have about 7. Two or it's kind of a 2 for 1, so more like 6.
All right, perfect. No, that's great. So it's obviously going to be more than 5 minutes long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bigify you so you can show off the knives, and
Sure.
I will jump in, and comment here and there. But basically, I want people to see what you brought. Once again, thanks ahead of time for coming on and doing this. I think this is going to be fantastic. And when we finish up, I was planning on going over to Minions Carry Knives and checking out some of the latest postings over there. So if you want to hang around for a few minutes and just hang out and chat and make some comments, you can after you're done showing off your show and tell knives. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, awesome. Let me bigify you and I will give you the stage, my friend. It will definitely be all you. There you go.
Right.
Look at that
Perfect.
handsome guy.
I think to start out, I started carrying a knife. I've carried knives when I was younger. Really everyday carry type situation, probably about a decade ago. Really before I knew that this, EDC community really existed. And my first real EDC knife was actually this guy, the Kershaw Cryo.
Okay.
Yeah. This one has definitely seen some use. I think you can see some roof tar stuck on there that I can't get off. But I've had this thing for probably 10 years, and this is really where my journey started. I didn't know that there was such thing as like a EDC community. It was just my knife I carried on me all the time, to work, to everything.
All right, that's a cool knife. I like you. For years, I carried a lot of Kershaws, mostly U.S. made ones.
Yeah.
Before I jumped into more premium brands, but I had off and on over my life had a lot of them, and the cryos. I actually have a cryo in my knife roll in there, so it's a knife that I own as well. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it's a great little knife. It's super heavy.
Knife, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's rugged. It's a rugged knife, right? It's a
It
frame
is.
lock, right? And
Yep.
obviously it's held up pretty well over all this time that you've been using it.
Yeah, and I wasn't shy on it for sure. It's definitely seen its share of, real work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, kind of the next step for me was really, getting in, after about that 10 years, trying to expand my horizon. And I think we all end up in that weird, Chinese rip-off territory. So, this is kind of the next, the next step for me was, the CH knife, kind of the
Hmm.
Effigrow. I've gotten rid of most of them. I tried to keep, choose one that's not necessarily a direct rip-off of an existing knife. This one's actually
Sure.
kind of neat. It's got some milling and
Well, that's
stuff in it.
cool. It's a frame lock too, which is unusual for them. Most of them tend to be liner locks.
Yeah, yeah, and it's got these
Yeah.
really interesting G10 handles. I kind
Mhm.
of like. So that's one of the reasons I kept on to this one. It's a front flipper. I'll be the first to admit that I'm like pretty terrible at the front flipper thing. So don't laugh too hard at me.
No, no laughing here, man. No, and so that's interesting because I think a lot of people do like go out there and say, well, what else is out there and what can I get for 30 bucks or 40 bucks or 50 bucks? Because
Yep.
for me, I don't know about you, but like, the cryo, the blur, the knockout, I had one of those from Kershaw. Like all of those knives are between like 50 and $70, right? So that's
Uh,
kind of where a lot of people end up, like in that $50 range or whatever. And then you go out and go, well, what else can I get for 50 bucks? And then you look at a knife like that, and who knows, what did that cost you new? Like $40 or something?
something like that. This is actually one. This one's got some decent materials. This is S35VN and titanium. So it's
Okay,
a. I
that
mean,
might have been a little more. But yeah, you were like,
yeah,
well, what can I get? What's a little sort of higher grade knife gonna result in, right?
sure. No, and I certainly did start in that right in that pocket you're talking about. I think those knives, I think I ended up with like a Sinkovich ripoff. And I not knowing it, right? Like you don't know what's out there. Like I didn't buy it with the intention knowing I was ripping off somebody's design. So I still have some of those and they're, in toolboxes, but I try not to advertise them anywhere for sure.
Mhm. Gotcha. I gotcha. Oh, somebody's asking what's in the tank. Snakes?
Oh, actually that was a fish tank there was a bunch of African cichlids in there that I just took down the other day.
Oh,
Life
prob-
responsibilities. We have
probably
a
because
we have a young kid.
probably because you have a drawing of a snake on the wall up there near behind the light.
Yeah, I do have
Way up
snakes, but
high.
they're actually over on this side. Can't see them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, yeah, someone's asking, is it a snake tank? All right.
Yeah.
So what else you
Yeah.
got for us? What's the next knife?
So the next knife, I think after you kind of go into that, like the Chinese low quality, you kind of end up in some of the
Yeah.
more high quality type Chinese knives,
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
I have a lot of these to choose from. I think the Arian's probably one of my most carried and probably one of my most favorite. This is a great little knife, and I have Civivis and but
Mhm.
that was really kind of the next step. And I actually stayed in this. I would say I stayed at this level for a very long time, and always told myself I would never go outside of this, you know, 100 to $200 level. And we all
Famous
know how
last
that goes, right?
famous last words. Oh,
So
so
yeah, so that this is a great little knife, and the idea I spent some good time in there. I think the next step for me was really moving more into like customization and maybe some like beginner level American made knives.
yeah, so that's yeah. So most people that it's very common. Like most people go into a Spyderco or a Benchmade, right? I mean,
Yep.
that's those are kind of the two biggest avenues for people when you step out of the Kershaw slash affordable line and you start moving into more U.S. manufacturers. Most people end up with a Spyderco or a Benchmade. So you
Yep.
ended
Yep.
up with a Spyderco. Okay, so
Yeah,
there we
and I
go.
I live in Colorado, so it was a definite fit for me. To be honest, my first like really high end, well, not high end, but like that level of knife was a Benchmade. My dad bought me when I was, a teenager. That knife ended up getting stolen when one of my cars got stolen. And I think I tried to look to replace it at the time, and I was like, this knife costs how much?
Yep, exactly. And that's still kind of I don't know. Like we were just talking right before you came on about how Benchmade versus Hogue, how there's a definite big difference in price for the same basic quality of knives. And
Hmm.
I would put Spyderco in a little bit different category because like their heat treatments are always fantastic on all their on all their American made knives.
Yep.
But I always feel like price wise, they kind of just sneak up a little bit at a time in price.
Yeah,
But
those Hogues
but
are
again,
hard to beat.
yeah, but it's a solid. But again, it's a solid knife. It's one of those big two, I call it that, for people who step up into that next category. And
Yeah, and this
so
is not even my favorite Spyderco I own. Probably this is just kind of a
how
good
long have you had
example. I probably had this one probably a year and a half or so, maybe a little longer. It's hard, with COVID times, it's hard to keep track of time and how long how long we were all in that.
Yep. Well, that's a while though. Yep. And that's a cool knife too. I dig it. I
Yeah,
dig it. I've
yeah,
always liked how
great
they put,
action.
I've always liked how they put "Made on Earth" in it. I always think
Golden,
that's really,
Colorado Earth.
yeah,
Yeah,
"Made
yeah,
on Earth."
yeah.
Earth. Yep.
Yeah, it's a great little knife. I actually ended up getting my dad a PM2, and he loves that thing. So, and he's not really your typical, knife hobbyist or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. I agree with CPM. He said Spyderco's heat treat process might be the best in the nation at the price point. I think that's probably true. You know.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. I have a Rex 45 that is just like, yeah, I mean, you can throw pretty much anything at that, and it doesn't need to be sharpened.
Mhm. Yep.
All right.
Nick is talking about your previous nights. Nick Martino says, I have an original Arion or Arian, and I love that one as well. Yep. Dawn Ray B wants to know, what is that brand? So I think she's asking about the one you just had up. That's a Spyderco, right? Can you
Yeah.
show that one more time? So Dawn, that the knife that Ant is going to put back on the screen, that's a Spyderco. And I only thing I would say about Spyderco is I've had very, very mixed bag of results with their overseas made knives. If you're going to buy a US made Spyderco, you will probably never have an issue with it. But some of their overseas made knives are a little they're kind of it's kind of a roll of the dice, let's put it that way.
I would say that's true. I think that my two favorite are probably a Sage 5 lightweight and the Chef, the Spidey Chef. And I think
Oh,
both
the
of those
Spyder
are Tai Chung.
Yep.
And
So
those are pretty
that's
nice knives.
a pair of three, right? And correct?
Yeah, this is a pair of three.
Pair of three, right? With a compression lock, Don. So that's what he was just showing you.
Yeah, and these scales are actually aftermarket scales. A company Cerebus scales. He makes all kinds of scales for all kinds of knives. I really dig these fish scales.
Yeah, those are cool. Yep, cool. All right, what else have you got for us? What else did you
All
bring
right.
tonight? Let's
I
see.
think then famous fast learners, as we were saying, I ended up kind of moving up a level,
Yep.
and this is a Vero Axon.
I was gonna say it's a Bureau. Yep.
Or sorry, Vero
See,
Synapse. Synapse. This is the
Bureau
Synapse.
Synapse. Okay. And I love what they did. See, I love the hidden frame lock on that knife. I
Yeah,
think that's fantastic. And I was just saying a few minutes back there, when the stout came out, one of my favorite things about that was that they hid the frame lock with the scales. And I think
yeah,
this is the same idea. They did that same Vero has that same type of lock mechanism, and it's covered, and you don't end up sticking your hand on it and not being able to deploy the knife.
yeah, yeah. No, this is a great little knife. I think it. I mean, functionally, it's just a really beautiful knife. I actually the first version I had of this, I ended up winning in a raffle, which is kind of what pushed me into the higher level. The higher level. That was a stone. I think that was a Stonewash in tan micarta, and this is really kind of the version I wanted. And I dyed the scales on this, so they were black micarta, but I dyed them kind of a burgundy red. It's kind of hard to see. Sorry for the lighting.
I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can see you got a couple good glimpses of it.
But yeah, I dig this knife. It's a great knife.
No, that I wanna I would like to pick up an Axion from them, so or Axon from Vero.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a I own a few Sheepfoot / Warney type blades. And I don't know, man. I just something about the use of them. I don't know if I'm just so used to a drops point at this point that I prefer kind of that drop point shape. I think all the knives I showed you actually were drop points besides the Spyderco.
Right. I was just responding to Brashear Bear up there. He was asking about it, if I'd really had problems with the Chinese made Spideys. I bought 6 of them. 4 of them I had to spend a lot of time working on. Let's put it that way, to get them to deploy correctly and not have the blade drag on the frame of the knife and things like that. So,
Really?
Other people's mileage may vary, but my experience, if I got 4 out of 6 of them that had issues right out of the box, and I kind of would rather stick with the American made ones. That's just my
Which
opinion.
which do you remember? Do you know which factory they were out of? Were they the Chinese or the Italian or
Yeah,
the
they were
Taiwan?
not Taiwan. They were not. None of them were Taiwan knives. They were all Chinese made knives.
Okay.
I've had three Tenaciouses, 2 Efficients, and I'm trying to remember what the other one was. I had the one that looks kind of like a Delica, but it's made in China. I had one of
Yeah.
those too. So yeah, I had 6 knives, and 4 of them I had like major issues with. So I ended up fixing them myself, because when you buy a knife for 50 or 60 bucks, like you're not going to get very far sending it back and getting another knife that's probably messed up too. So I just worked on them until I got them to, work properly.
Yeah.
But again,
No.
it's more of a buyer beware thing than it is, I expect everybody to have that problem. I just want people to know that's what my experience was with it.
No, and I think that's fair. I actually do have a Tenacious. I don't even carry it. It has my son's birthday kind of written on the blade, and it's more of a art piece than it is a functional thing. And I don't think that I
Mhm.
would choose that one over any of my other Spydercos for sure.
Right, exactly. That's my point. Once you've got a good American made one, you're probably not going to go back to using a Chinese or a Taiwanese one. So
For sure.
he said the Neuron looks dope.
I
All
think
right.
so. It's cool. It's cool to make it your own a little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Terror 3 and Rex 45. That's a really good knife. Yes. Oh, Last Ranger's in here. Cool. Brett Hinder Collector's in here too. He's throwing out some greetings. So the crowd has grown a little bit. They must have heard that you were on live.
It's hard. I apologize. It's hard to like watch the comments and be engaged
No,
in the
no, it
company
is.
that
And
you're saying here.
I tell people because I host most of my lives myself, I do bring guests on and stuff, but I always tell people, like, the hardest thing to do is to talk and carry on a conversation while you're watching comments,
For sure.
especially when they start jumping. When they start jumping, and you're like, "Oh my God, where was I? I lost my place."
It certainly gives me a lot more respect for you guys doing this now that I've been in it myself for sure.
Right, right. So, what's the next knife? What's up next, my friend?
So yeah, I actually just saw Byron's comment about a fixed blade, and that actually was what I was going to kind of bring on. This is something I've kind of gravitated more to, is carrying, especially when I'm going down into the city and want a little more concealed. I carry a little an EDC fixed blade. This
Mhm.
is kind of a neat one from a company called Boros Blades on Instagram. He
That's
made
spelled right.
what's that?
Isn't that spelled with a P?
B
Foros is spelled with a P, right?
B
Yep.
B like
Oh,
boy. The
Boros.
Boros.
Okay, Boros. Got it.
Yeah, like
Maybe one of my moderators
Ouroboros.
can find that and throw up a link for them. That would be cool.
Yeah, and I'm trying to show his marks on there. It's just super light. I don't know if it's gonna be hard to see, I think.
I can see it. Yeah, yeah. You can see the Micarta, okay. And the
But yeah, this is
texturing on the handle. Yeah. You're
it's a
doing
great
good. You
little
got
knife,
it.
and I usually kind of carry this like across my belt, concealed. And usually when I'm carrying this, I have, a traditional knife in my pocket as, kind of my, use this for 90% of my use, that opening
Yeah.
packages
Or
and
if somebody
whatnot.
says, "Hey, do you have a knife I could borrow to cut something?" Right? You're going to take that knife you have in your hand out, not the fixed blade, right?
Sure. And if I have to pull it out
Right.
in public, I think people are less likely to flip out about this little guy.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So yeah, this is kind of neat one. Not hugely, on the low end for sure, but does what I need it to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, that knife is very similar to the reason a lot of times that I carry a Victorinox, like an SD Classic or a Recruit or a Tinker. Yeah, don't stab yourself in the foot. But that's the same reason, because there's times when I want to just be able to take out a knife that I know won't intimidate people,
Yeah.
or like I have coworkers who say, "Hey, you got a knife for a second? I can cut this strap," and I'm like, "Sure," and I'll take out a knife I know I won't be worried about them cutting themselves with, or dropping on the ground, or whatever it might be. And that's why it's great to have some of those backup knives like that on your person.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. And then, if you need something more serious, you got it.
Hmm. Now, how do you typically carry that one? Does it have a leather sheath, a Kydex sheath? But
Yeah, so it's a Kydex sheath,
oh,
with
you can
with just
carry
a
it
single.
scout.
Yeah, carry it scout kind of across my
Perfect.
belt,
Nice.
across the front of my belt, so it just kind of sits under my belly a little bit, and it's not too uncomfortable, and
Mhm.
stays hidden.
No,
Yeah,
that's
we were
perfect.
actually yeah we went down to the aquarium in the city with my kid, and I was able to kind of bring that with me, and no questions asked. It's kind of the goal there, right?
Yep. So, size wise, would you say, because I have one, would you say that is similar in size to a sea snake from Artisan? Because it looks
I
about that
haven't.
same.
How big is the sea snake's blade? I actually haven't held one in hand.
Oh, I don't know, I'd have to go measure it, but it's not. I think the overall length is similar though, because it's got
Is
a
it?
front, that like yours has a front choil. Yeah, it looks like it's about the same size as a sea snake.
Yeah, this is about a 3.5-inch blade, which is kind of my ideal in
Okay, yeah,
both
that's fast. So
folders.
I'm thinking somewhere around there, 2.75 inches to 3 inches is probably about right. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, because I
Okay.
do I do a lot of like food stuff with my knives, and I found
Yeah.
that 3.5 inch is a great size. That's not so big, but you can still get stuff done.
Right. So Nick is saying 3 inch on the sea snake. So there you go. So
Okay.
close. But I mean, overall size, it looks similar in size to a sea snake. So
Yeah, and this one's actually got a what do you call it? A hamon blade, which is really neat. And I
yeah,
kind
I
of got
see
into
that.
the process.
Yep. Very cool. I like that forward choil on that too.
Yeah,
That's really nice to have there, you know.
yeah, and that
So
was
even
he actually made this one kind of custom for me. I
okay,
dig the Quakeds, but one of the things that they lack is that forward choil. So I actually had him add that in there, and
right.
I really like that.
Yeah, and I like the beveling on the front of the scales as well. So if
Yeah,
you are kind of doing a modified grip there, you can grab it and pinch it up on the side. You got a little bit of beveling there to kind of make that grip a little more firm. So
yep.
that's a cool knife. That's a Boris,
Boris
right?
blades. Yep.
Boris blades. Okay, yeah. I'll have to go check that out for sure, man.
Yeah, and I think he's a pretty young kid, just kind of getting into it. He does all kinds of knives, but he does, I mean, this is a great knife. It's a high carbon, so if you
Hmm.
live anywhere wet, it may be an issue, but for me, it's great.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. So Brashear Bear is saying the sea snake is 3.15 inches from the website. Yeah, and it has a pretty good size forward choil on it too, so that cuts down on some of the space for blade. But I'm saying overall, the length of that knife from front to back looks very similar. So
Yeah,
just to try to give people an idea of where that is size wise. So
yeah, and I have medium hands, so it may appear bigger than it is in real life.
okay, that's good. No, that's always good for people to know, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, mid Missouri EDC joined. That is Craig Hamilton. He's in the house tonight too. Look at that. 40 people here watching Ant show off knives. I love it. Dude, I got to have you on more often.
It's been fun, man. I'd do this again for sure.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we'll have you on again. So what's next? You got that? What is that? 5, 6? That
So
5?
that
I think
was
it's
kind of the sixth one. I mean, I got another one
6.
that
Okay.
I've kind of carried around all day. If you want to check that
Let's
out.
see. Yeah, let's see what that is. Show it off, man.
So this is the knife that sold me on front flippers.
Yep.
This thing is a pretty incredible knife. It was my first Mula. First, not my first Pena. I had another Pena, one of the Lanny clips before this, but this is my first Mula that I wanted to check out for a while. And also, it's a collaboration with JB Stout.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I look at his knives. I still haven't gotten to the level that I'm willing to pay for a custom knife. So this thing was a great kind of in between. I don't know if you do follow JB Stout. He did some stuff with Boker, but those are like $50 to $100 knives, and I was looking for something
Right.
a little nicer than that. So
Yep.
this is a fantastic knife. I
It
am
looks it looks really solid.
into this thing.
I love the clip design on it too. On the
Yeah,
that you're showing up on that side, the machined clip and stuff. And I like also how you've got all that finish work on all those angles up around the front of the knife, up there where the blade is, and then across the back. So that makes the knife probably feel a lot more ergonomical in your hand than if it were
yep.
just kind of squared off.
Yeah, and he
No,
does.
very
There's little just the details. This little harpoon is a hollow ground harpoon which matches the blade.
cool.
It's just a cool little knife.
Yeah, no, that's a very, very cool knife. I mean, I never really looked at one of those up close. I brushed through a couple on websites before, but I've never actually seen one of them really showed off by anybody. So I dig that. That's a knife I would buy for sure. I also like
Yep.
how they did a flat right below the pivot,
Yeah.
right? So a
Yeah.
lot of knives tend to round that off, or it tends to be like flared up. But because you did a flat, yeah, exactly, you can grab the knife right there. And
Yeah.
so if you
It's
don't
I mean
have
it's
a choil
comfortable.
on there, yeah, that flat is probably very comfortable position to hold from, for sure.
Yeah, and it's almost got like you can kind of see it's got almost like a kind of hollow, almost like a chamfer to that, which gives it even more grip and texture, to be
Yep. Can you
honest.
show that one more time? I had the comment in your way. There you go. Yeah, that's very cool. And they flatten that part of the blade, the bottom of the blade off too, really nice. It all matches up very nicely. Yeah, I mean that's a super nice Pena for sure.
Yeah, it's the finishing on it's fantastic.
Cool, cool, cool,
All
cool.
right. I
Yeah,
think I think
so
that's it, unless you want to be here all
fantastic.
night showing
Nice.
nice.
That's a slick knife. All right, so is that it? That's what you got for us today, right? That was what,
Yes,
7
sir.
knives? That's pretty
Yeah.
good, man. And you just helped me eat up a whole chunk of time showing off a whole bunch of cool stuff. So I dig that a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
man. Thanks for
you
having
want to
me
stick
on.
around for a few minutes?
Sure.
Okay. So one of the other things I wanted to mention, because I saw some comments in here. First of all, before I go any further, I want to say thank you very much for coming on and doing the live stream. Let's get back to split screen here for a second. Let's do that first. There we go. I want to say thanks for coming on. I always appreciate having guests on, and you brought a bunch of fantastic knives. I think one of the funnest things to see is somebody's knife journey, right? And that's what you did. This gave us a little insight into sort of your knife journey, like a little, you know, different knives that you've collected along the way, and how that's changed. Obviously, if you hold up the Pena and you hold up the Cryo, that's quite a long distance apart, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. So they're the first knife that you bought to carry and use and beat the crap out of, and one of the more recent knives that you've purchased. So it shows the evolution. But I will say you got 2 frame locks in your hand that are
Yep.
both very ruggedly built knives that are around the same general length, and they're not totally out of the size category of each other.
No,
So
they're not.
that's probably something
Similar
that you
shaped
like.
blades too, in a way.
Right. Drop points, right. Exactly. That one's got a harpoon on the top, but I mean they're kind of,
Yeah.
basically a drop blade. So
Yep.
you can kind of see that you get to like something. And I go back to this all the time. I always tell people this. I still have my Kershaw knockout. And I'm still a fan of that basic size knife,
with that basic size belly on the drop point blade. A lot of knives that have been my favorites over the years, including the Old Minion that I just reviewed last week that is on loan from Satu Dave, has the same basic shape and the same basic blade. Like I actually put a knockout next to it in the review and said, hey, I wonder why I like this knife so much the first time I put it in my hand, because the size and the basic shape of it is very reminiscent of knives that I started with. So I think that's a common thread between some of the knives you've collected and some of the, like the way that I collected. So that was cool, and I really enjoyed that. And what I wanted to say is you're welcome to come back on anytime. And I would love for people like Brant and some of the other people that were commenting to hit me up and come on and do a 5-on-5. Like this is fun for most people. Most of the time when people come on and do this, they usually get a hold of me afterwards and they go, man, that was a little I had a little anxiety at first, but after I got going, I really enjoyed it. Like I had fun showing people my knives. And that's why I started this segment back at the beginning of the year, because I wanted people to be able to show off stuff that I don't own or other people on the forum here don't own. And that's what's really fun about it. So thank you very much.
It was a great time.
I really appreciate it. All right. So I would love to stick on a little longer and do more chat, but there are two things happening here. One, my back injury is starting to act up and my back's starting to get really stiff. And two, Mrs. Edge probably is going to want me to make her dinner in the next half an hour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this segment and I'm going to pick a story time. So I will, again, once again, thanks for coming on, but I will have a story time here. I'm going to wrap up with a story to finish the evening. All right. Sound good, everybody? All right, cool. So story time is coming up. I'm going to, thanks again, and I'm going to pull you off of the live stream, put you backstage, but please hang around in the chat, and I'm going to finish up with story time. All right.
Thanks,
all right, man.
Rich. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. It was a blast. All right, gather round, children. Story time is up before I can't get out of this chair. Oof. Okay. So I thought about story time for tonight. So gather round, story time with Uncle Eionans. It's about to happen. That was a fantastic 5-and-5. I love having guests on like that. I love seeing people's knife journeys or just what they have to share. Man, some of the people we've had on this year have been amazing. I will say one more thing before I start story time. I will probably, by the end of this month or before Christmas, I will have Nick Riggy on. I know he just guested on Grumpy's live a week or two ago, so I'm trying to give him a little time in between, but I will definitely announce that. I will definitely make sure everybody knows Nick is getting ready to release the jersey. He actually got some production samples. You might have seen that on his Instagram account. One of the changes in the production knife was something that I recommended to him, and he was like, damn, that's a good idea. I'm going to do that. And he did. So that's part of us getting to review knives through Apex and other sources, is being able to give feedback to the people who design them. It's really exciting when something that you bring up as a knife reviewer gets put into an actual knife that is being offered to the public. So I want to thank Nick for that. And he will be coming on the live stream probably in the next 3 or 4 weeks, if everything goes well. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And yes, absolutely, positively, Ant, you did a great job. You killed it. Story time. Story time. Let's do that. All right. So, Eionan's Ed's chair. Don Ray says, the story about the drill instructor, the hat, and the ink was the best. That is a classic tale. That is a classic tale. But tonight I'm going to go back a little further in my life. I'm going to go back to when I was a teenager. So here we go, folks. Yes, Minions like stories, Michael Morgan. That is true. I'm sorry, folks, that I did not get to Minions Carry Knives today. There are new posts up there. I promise you next week, on the Tuesday live stream next week, I will go through the Minions Carry Knives postings again. And remember, if you have an Instagram account and you post pictures of your knives, use this hashtag right here you see on the screen. It will put your knives into the Minions Carry Knives page link, and there's like 200 of them in there now. So you guys have been doing a great job, but keep doing that. And next week, when I have a little bit more time and my back is a little bit more compliant, we will go over the Minions Carry Knives link over there on Instagram, and I will show off some of the pictures that you guys put up. But anyway, back to story time. Gotta get this wrapped up. Okay, so I decided to tell a story about my dumbass stepbrothers. All right, and when they were teenagers, they were dumbasses. Okay, they mostly grew up and became adults for the most part. But when they were younger, they definitely had plenty of moments where they did things that were just ridiculously young. So one of the things that they did, and I did not go on this. I'm telling a story secondhand here, so I will tell you their version of this story. But basically, what happened is they went out with a couple of friends one night. I believe there was 4 of them, and they found a housing development that was mostly built, but it was not completely finished. So I guess all it had was a chain across the road to keep people from driving into it. So the houses were mostly done. The road was in, the driveways were in, most of the houses were at least framed up and had roofs on them and all that. But there was no landscaping, there was no grass, no trees in the yards, none of that stuff. So the 4 of them went up there one night after dark, and they decided that they were going to play car tag. So for those of you who might not be familiar with what car tag is, that's where you actually play tag like you did when you were a kid, except you do it with a car. You have to physically run into somebody else's car hard enough to tag them. So these 4 idiots, 2 of them being stepbrothers, they decided that they were going to do car tag. So they went to this housing project and they decided to drive around in this housing project, and they would like park on the side of a house with their lights off, and then they would like drive up, and it's pitch black. There are no street lights here yet, right? This development has not been built. So they decide to go there and play car tag. Oh. So I just was looking at the comments trying to see if there was anything. The setting is familiar to a former framer. Okay, yeah. So there's JN, right? He understands what I'm saying, right? So this is a housing complex that's done enough. It's done enough. It's got a road in it. It's got, houses built on it, right? But it's not, there's no landscaping. No one's living there. It's in the process of being built. So yeah, so you shut the headlights off. You're not allowed to use headlights. And you basically wait somewhere for one of the other drivers to drive by. Now, the idea generally, depending on how shitty your cars are, and my stepbrothers had some pretty shitty cars, so they probably didn't really care that they were scuffed or nicked or banged up. But, somebody might have a decent car. But you could tag somebody anywhere you wanted. The whole thing was you weren't allowed to tag somebody in the driver door, right? Which makes sense. Or if there was a passenger in the car, you weren't allowed to hit somebody in the passenger. But you could tag somebody in the right rear, left rear bumper, front bumper, whatever it might be, right? So they go up there and they're playing car tag, and they've tagged each other a couple times and no serious damage to the cars, right? Well, again, I wasn't there. I didn't witness this in person. But somewhere in the midst of this car tag frenzy, hello, Matisfaction. Somewhere in the middle of this car tag game, one of my stepbrother's friends that's playing car tag with him, one of the 4 participants, is parked behind the house. So he is parallel with the road, but he's parked behind the house with his lights. And he realizes that a car is coming from the other side of the house on the road, and it has shut off his lights. So he's like, what the fuck? Right? And so he sits there and waits, but he sees the front of a car pull past the edge of the house. So he drives forward and he tags the car. Anybody want to guess what happens next? It's a cop. That's right, Don Ray B. It's a cop. He runs into a cop car in the housing development. And my two stepbrothers book out of there and leave this dude to basically get arrested. Right? And thankfully for them, totally a cop. Exactly, totally a cop, right? Oh, there's somebody up in the housing development. We saw cars drive up in there. Lock gets snipped. Chain lock gets snipped. They go in, drive around, tag each other for a while. Somebody hears noises up there, calls the police. Cop shows up. Kid runs into the front fender of a cop car. One of the nights, one of the many nights when I told my stepbrothers, hell no, I don't want to go with you. They're like, come on, you don't have to drive a car. Just ride with me or ride with him. Right? I'm like, nope. No. I'll stay home and play guitar. I'll go out in the barn and work on a motorcycle. I will do something, but I'm not going with you. They were fortunate enough to get away, but the dude who got caught got in a lot of trouble. He got breaking and entering charge. I don't remember exactly what happened to him, but he got in a lot of trouble. So car tag, folks. I guess it could be fun, but not when you run into a cop. Not a good thing to do. Anyway, folks, since I didn't have a lot of time, I thought I would give you a shorter story tonight. Thank you all for coming in. This has been a long live because I came on early. I know some of you are going to probably jump over and watch Cole, which I'm going to do as soon as I finish making tacos for my wife over there. It's the last night she can eat regular food before she goes back to chemo. Thank you all for your thoughts and prayers. Thanks for joining me for a couple of hours here. Thank you very, very much to my friend Ant, who came on and did an amazing 5 and 5 with me tonight. You guys are the best. That is why I call you my minions. You are definitely that. Much love to all of you. I will see you next week, folks. Stay sharp.